What is going on, Niner fans? How are we feeling? It is a Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. A little bit of news to talk about, but more of like just funny stuff I want to bring to the table. I'm sure you guys seen all the posts. Brandon Aiyuk, I was just cracking up. I'm reading some of the comments he made to the fans after the fact. But we're going to talk about that. Niners made a few roster transactions. They officially got Bryce Huff trade finalized. So we'll talk about a little bit about that. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to be live with Larry Krueger tonight, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. So we'll be live talking about all that stuff later tonight. So, So right now we're just going to go over a couple of things that were in the news today. We posted all of it, obviously. But, get to hear your guys' thoughts, ask me some questions, etc., etc. What's going on? SF Flood. What's up, Debtopia? How's everybody doing? But let's get to it. So today, the 49ers finally finalized the trade. Yesterday, they announced it, the trade with the Eagles, Bryce Huff. Today, his physical was good to go. He passed his physical, and the 49ers thus completed the trade, sending over a conditional fifth-round pick to the Eagles. And it can be a fourth-round pick if, he hits certain performance markers. And a lot of, like yesterday, we talked about that. And it's a good thing. If the Eagles get a fourth-round pick out of it, then that means he did good for the 49ers. We want him to do good. So, okay, whatever. If they get a fourth-round pick, that means he did better than expected. Last year as an Eagle, he didn't have a good season. But before that, when he played for Robert Saleh in the Jets defensive system, he had a career year. So we're hoping he reclaims that 2023 Bryce Huff, type of season. And I think he can. So that was a good little news update for today. A couple of other things. The 49ers, they placed Trent Taylor. Yeah, Trent Taylor was placed on the injured reserve, probably, through training. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back in training camp, or maybe they'll keep him on the roster down the line. But as of now, Trent Taylor is going to the injured reserve. I mean, I didn't think he'd make it to the actual roster, probably a practice squad guy like usual, special teams, return guy, et cetera, et cetera. But they put him on the injured reserve, and they waived offensive lineman Nicholas Petit-Frere. This guy, they signed him a few weeks ago. He was a former Titans offensive lineman. They brought this guy and Andre Dillard on the same day. They kept Dillard, and they got rid of Nicholas Petit-Frere. They needed to make a roster spot for Bryce Huff, and you get rid of those two guys. So it opened up a roster spot in the 49ers. They signed a wide receiver his name is Malik Knowles to a one-year deal. He's played for the Vikings, a very relatively unknown guy. He's a young buck. So this guy gets a chance to play on the 49ers through training camp, obviously camp body. Maybe he can make the practice squad. I doubt it, because not everybody can make the practice squad. But that's what the 49ers did today. They signed Bryce. They added Bryce Huff. He officially passed his physical. He's on the team. So they had to make a few roster moves. You put Trent Taylor on the injured reserve. You waive Nicholas Petit-Frere. Obviously, it doesn't sound like he was going to make the roster. So there's that. And then you bring in wide receiver Malik Knowles, who is going to be a camp body to replace Trent Taylor. So simple as that. That was the transactions for the day. Now, some good news out of OTAs. Yes, according to Vic Taffer, 49ers media reporter for The Athletic, he stated that Trent Williams is healthy and back in the building for OTAs. The offensive line coach, Chris Forster, was the one that gave him this information. Today, the positional coaches, the OC, the DCs, and, all those guys are in the building. Tomorrow, like we said, Robert Saleh is going to speak to the media today. He's going to speak to the media. I think Kubiak's going to speak to the media. So today, all the positional coaches, QB coach, linebackers coach, D-line coach, all those guys met with the media today. So the positional coaches got to explain some things here and there. And today, Chris Forster, the offensive line coach, mentioned that Trent Williams is back in the building for OTAs. Last week, it was a little bit concerning because Trent Williams was not in the building, although he started off coming to the voluntary workouts. But people were speculating, not going to name any names. People were saying, why is Trent not showing up? Is he going to be retiring? Is he hurt? Whatever the case is, he's there. And, maybe just need a few days rest. Again, what I said the other day was, hey, it's Trent Williams. Give him some time to rest, catch his breath, let him, do his own thing at his own pace. because we want to make sure Trent Williams stays healthy through the season. I don't care if he's there at training camp, because if he's there at training camp, or I don't care if he's there at OTAs right now. I want him to be at training camp, but at the same time, I don't want him to overwork himself, because he's going to need to really work through the season and stay healthy. That's the whole point. So, yes, Trent Williams is back. Good news, and he's healthy. That's the main thing. Trent Williams healthy is key for the 49ers offensive line. Like, he is the offensive line for the San Francisco 49ers. He is the big ticket for the 49ers O-line. So that was the big news of the day, the transactions. And then we get to Brandon Aiyuk. This man, I just think he's bored. I said it yesterday. If you guys watched last night, I said Brandon Aiyuk's been posting some stuff on his YouTube. He's been posting some weird things in social media, on his Instagram stories. And I was like, today I'm going to post what he posted on his YouTube. I didn't post it until he dropped his Instagram post, because it kind of went together. I said, I have a feeling I'm going to post something about Brandon Aiyuk. I said that last night, and I was waiting to post at the right time. And boom, I got on my lunch break, and this man posts on his Instagram story a picture of the infamous Terrell Owens driveway workout where he's doing the sit-ups. I don't know if you guys saw that, but back in the day, the year was 2005. Some of the young Bucks may not remember it, but Terrell Owens was on the Eagles, and his training camp, him and Andy Reid get into like a little bit of a riffraff there. T.O. was outspoken, and sometimes they called him a diva, whatever, and he always had some issues here and there. And Andy Reid suspended him. Andy Reid used to be the coach of the Eagles. He suspended him. His training camp says come back next week. So, of course, the media, I guess they invited him. I don't remember that part of the story, but I remember they were there. I'm sitting here watching ESPN. I remember 2005. I'm sitting there. I think I was like junior year of college or something. I'm sitting there, turn on ESPN in the middle of the day, and T.O., boom, here he is. He's on his driveway doing push-ups. And I'm going, what is going on? And he talks to the media. It's like, it's misconstrued. I love the fans, because they're saying he didn't talk to the fans or something. And there he is. He's doing his little sit-ups in the driveway and working, and he's lifting weights. So BA post a picture of that. And I think also part of that whole situation, if I remember correctly, T.O. was like, look, I'm in shape. I'm going to be ready for training camp. I'm going to be there. He played the first 7 games of that season, and he got traded that year. I remember he got traded. I don't know if BA is like speculating that he wants to be away from the team, if he wants to get traded, or he's saying, I'm in shape. I'm ready to start the year. I honestly think that Brandon Aiyuk is just bored out of his mind, and that's him. When he gets bored, he starts posting cryptic things. It's some weird tweets here and there throughout the year, posts on his Instagram story. I just think he's bored, and that's the new generation. And hopefully he can find something to stimulate his mind, because he posts some weird stuff. And then, of course, we post it, and it's like a whole dramatic situation. And then it's like we're speculating, what does he mean? What does he mean? And then the fans get mad at him. And then a few minutes after he makes that post about Terrell Owens, when every social media outlet is posting it, because it's like, what does it mean? It's, of course, he goes on his Instagram story and he says, y'all crybaby ass divas. I'm quoting here. Y'all crybaby ass divas be killing the vibes on Instagram. That's what he says. He says, shake my head. It's got to be an age limit on hating. He says, if you're 30 years old or older, just post your kids and STFU. STFU. That's what he said. He said, if you're 30 years and older, just post your damn kids. I hope he sticks to that talk. When he's 30, when Brandon Aiyuk is 30, I hope he's only posting his kids. There you go. S. Flood says T.O. invited the media. Yeah, he invited the media. That's okay. Yeah, so he clarified that. That's funny. Can you imagine Brandon Aiyuk? Yeah, come to my house. Can you imagine like Dave Lombardi, Grant Cohn, Matt Barrows, Cam Inman? Like everybody's at his house. I'll be there. Shit, if he invites there, I'll go there. Goes to his house, and he's working. Can you imagine if we had social media back then? Can you imagine if we had Instagram, Snapchat? It'd be kind of scary, But I don't really think he's trying to say anything deep like, oh, get me out of the team. I just think he's bored, and he's trying to show people, like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm hungry. I want to prove. I really think he's just trying to prove himself this offseason or this season, really. I know he's coming in with the a lot of baggage, right? AJ says, what's the real issue with BA? Is it mad at the Niners or the Niner fans? Is it trying to prove something? Like what? Ian says he sounds fine. I don't think he's mad at anybody. I think people misinterpret him. And, again, the picture of T.O., it's like an iconic moment. It was him working out. The media is there. He's like, I'm good to go, man. I'm ready to play. And, Andy Reid and me, we had a miscommunication. I think BA is just saying, look, man, I just want to show you I'm healthy. I'm ready. I'm hungry. Because he also posted on his Twitter, again, or not his Twitter, his YouTube. He's been posting a lot. I said it last night. He's been very active on his YouTube post. I feel like because not a lot of people see it. So he wants to, just say what he has to say with not a lot of people saying it. Because on Instagram, everybody sees it. I'm going to post it, right? Everybody that has a big Instagram page is going to post it. Twitter, everybody sees those comments. So I feel like he's trying to kind of say things, what he wants to say, but quietly on YouTube. I went on his YouTube the other day, and he has so many weeks and months of, posts, but nobody sees those things. And even if you look at it, not a lot of likes, not a lot of views on those things. People aren't looking at that. They don't know about it. They don't see his posts. So I just think he's trying to tell people hey, man, I know I got a lot to prove. I'm ready. This was his most recent YouTube post. He says, they want to play cool now? Nah, F no. I want that smoke still. I want that smoke. I think he's saying hey, man, everybody's trying to be cool with BA because I feel like the vibes were shifting. Everybody's like, oh, can't wait for BA to come back. And I feel like everybody was trying to switch up on him. And now he's saying no, stay over there. You going to hate on me? Hate on me. I'm going to prove myself. And then on the Instagram post today where he says you got to be an age limit on hating. I think he's basically saying look, I love you guys, but if you're going to hate on me, stay in that lane. And what T.O. said in that iconic, interview, he basically said, I love the fans. I love the fans. Because they said, is it about the fans? He's I love the fans. I think BA loves the fans, but he doesn't like to be hated. I don't know. But again, sometimes people are hating his actions, and actions speak louder than words. So I feel like there's just a lot of misconceptions with Brandon Aiyuk. I hope he does good. But at the same time, yeah, he kind of put himself in this position, honestly, at the end of the day. So we'll see. Hopefully he says some more and clears it up. In a couple of months when training camp starts, I'm sure they're going to interview him and he gets to go to one of the press conferences. I really want to hear Brandon Aiyuk speak. I really want to hear him say what's on his mind. And that's the other thing is sometimes you post these cryptic messages, and obviously right now I'm assuming what he's saying. We're all trying to analyze it and break it down. And then he's going to go out and say, oh, you guys stay on your lane. Haters, if you're 30 years old, post your kids. Okay, great. But if you're trying to say something, just say it. Don't have to say it in Morse code. I feel like that would make the fans a little bit more accepting of Brandon Aiyuk. If he just said what's on his mind instead of writing in Morse code in these hieroglyphic type posts, I think we'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. That's what's on your mind. I got it. But he doesn't. And that's what pisses people. He literally pisses people off by writing in code. That's it. I think that's the biggest irritation for me. Okay, cool. You're writing these things. Nobody knows what you're talking. Just say what's on your mind. Say what's on your mind. You got a mouth. You got words that come out of it. You know how to speak. Speak. Use your words. When my daughter was young, when your kids are young and they won't say anything and they're trying to tell you stuff, I'm like, say your damn words. Emily, I used to say your words, girl. And now she talks more than I can imagine. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I should have told her to say her words. You know what I mean? But the point of the story is, Brandon, just say what you got. Just say what's on your mind. So, B.A. Chelsea says B.A., a.k.a. bad attitude. S. Flood says, at this point, I think the Niners are trying to shift the culture. I think a trade involving B.A. would benefit both parties. Flood, I think B.A. gets traded after this year. I don't think he's going to be on the Niners after this. I really think he's trying to prove that he's healthy. He's ready. He's going to go out there, have the best season he can. I think after this year, they're going to cut ties with Brandon Aiyuk. That's my prediction for 2026, but we'll see how it goes. Throwback says, how's it going? Sounds like you had a long day. It wasn't too bad of a day. I mean, every day for me is long. I'm a busy guy, but I'm good. Doing well, healthy, happy. That's all you can ask for. So hope you're doing well. Danny says, what's up, Raj and Faithful? 49ers Throwback says, Trent Williams heard what Grant Cohn said. Yeah, I think that maybe he got the message, right? And because Grant was going in on him. Oh, he's going to retire. Why is he not at the building? Blah, 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 blah. today. They made it a pretty big, the media made it a pretty big announcement to every reporter out there was saying, "Up, he's there, he's there, he's there. Chris Forster, he's there." So I think they wanted to make sure that they nipped that in the bud. Throwback says, "Do I really think he's gone next year?" I do. I really think they're going to walk away from him. They've tried to trade him multiple times already. This year they tried to trade him. They tried to trade him last year, and that contract is not pretty. I think if Brandon Aiyuk can have a pretty solid year this year, coming back from injury and really showcase that he still has that fluidity and he has that route running, I think the Niners are going to try to trade him. That's my take on it. And if Jennings, that's the other thing. If Jennings can have a nasty season like he did last year and have a really good, solid, 1,000-yard season, I think the Niners would say, okay, we can get rid of Brandon Aiyuk and extend Juwan Jennings. We'll still be saving, at that position. And then you got young guys like Pearsall and Cowing, and if they can take that leap in Jordan Watkins, then they're in a good position. So I do think that they're going to really look into that next year heavily because they've looked into it heavily for the last 2 years. So what's going to change next year? So, yeah, I think Brandon Aiyuk next year will be traded. But that's not for another year. So Flood says, who do you think will be an under-the-radar breakout candidate during training camp this year? Yeah, we talked about that last week with Larry Krueger, and it's a lot of good candidates, but I feel like over the last couple of weeks, a guy that's kind of starting to come to light is the running back they drafted. James Jordan, the running back they drafted out of Oregon. At first, I wasn't really, thinking much about him, but more recently, I'm like, I think this guy could come in and shine. Obviously, we all know CMC is like the X factor and the big running back that we all want to see and go crazy, but they got to keep him healthy. They got to keep him, kind of in bubble wrap. Not necessarily bubble wrap, but they want to pace him. I think they're going to pace him a little bit, although CMC is going to be the type of guy that wants to go all out. I feel like they're going to try to pace him a little bit. Guerendo is going to get, obviously his share of the carries. But I think that Oregon running back, James Jordan, is going to kind of come in and showcase that, hey, man, I'm also a part of this backfield. And he's going to, I guess, steal the show. But he's definitely going to showcase some talent. I like Jordan Watkins more and more I've seen out of him. I feel like he's a guy that, with Ricky Pearsall dealing with his hamstring, who knows, how he's going to look coming back from the hamstring injury. Maybe he'll try to start slow at training camp. It's going to give Jordan Watkins a lot of opportunities early on in training camp. He's hungry. He wants to prove himself, so we'll see. I think those two guys for sure. On defense, man, there's so many you could talk about, but I don't even think he's under the radar. CJ West, I think everybody's expected him to kind of step up. But the guy that I think now with all the safety injuries that they've had with Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa, I think Marquise Seigel today, the Andrew Bullock cornerbacks coach was talking about him, and he says he reminds him of like a Jimmy Ward, young Jimmy Ward, very versatile. You know how much this Niner team loved Jimmy Ward, and if he can kind of play that versatile spot and showcase a little bit of toughness on the defensive side, I think Marquise Seigel might be a youngster that could shock a lot of people, turn some heads in, so we'll see. But there's a lot of guys out there that I'm just really hyped up to see. And, I think Connor Colby, the offensive lineman they drafted out of Iowa, I mean, he was the guy they drafted, the offensive lineman. I think he's going to come in and make a statement and win the starting job, I think, at left guard. He's kind of a plug-and-play type guy, and I really feel he's going to come in and make a name for himself. So we'll see. Thirsty. Any case. But, yeah, that's a good question. But we'll see how training camp goes. Tomorrow, OTAs open to the media, so we'll get some content. Robert Saleh will be talking to the media, and we get to hear what he has to say. I can't wait to hear that press conference. So that'll be good. I think a few players are also speaking tomorrow, so we'll get to hear and get to, listen to some of these players and obviously Robert Saleh and see what he thinks about, Bryce Huff. I think he's going to talk him up. So that'll be good to get a quote or two out of Saleh about Bryce Huff. I'm excited. But we'll be back later tonight with Larry Krueger, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. I just want to hop on live real quick and give you some updates on the news that happened today and, share my thoughts on the whole Brandon Aiyuk situation. But again, I just think he's bored. But we'll see how the rest of the season offseason goes. This is the most dramatic it's been of the offseason. Leave it to Brandon Aiyuk. He's like, it's not dramatic enough. Let me stir a little witch's brew. But other than that, nothing else is going on. You guys have a good rest of your night. Talk to you later when I'm on with Larry Krueger. As always, go Niners.